everyone has the opportunity to choose and make a decision based on their own perspective. We choose to ride and explore.
Today, we have found ourselves on a pretty significant bike ride. The ride started over 18 hours ago on the south coast of British Columbia.
That's right. We left at 2 in the morning, and we are now less than 50 kilometers from the border to Alaska.
How in the hell did we end up here?
Back in Victoria, we've had the idea to do this trip for over a year.
Passing through downtown is really common. One of our favorite rides starts just on the other side of town. We are usually on a local ride somewhere, or maybe a coastal ride up island a little. We spend the time often just chatting in our helmet comms, at least when we're not listening to music, which is usually Aaron's choice.
It's either on these rides or at a local coffee shop that we talk about a lot of different things.
Put chocolate stuff in it. Like our favorite rides we've done in the past. We will never forget our first big ride to the top of the island. Or the tour across BC. This one was one of my favorites. We had so many problems, but somehow we made it through every time.
It worked!
Or the ice-cold ride through Washington.
Mainly what we talk about is our goals for the future. The ride to South Alaska and the Yukon was one of those goals, and we were determined to make it happen.
You don't grasp such a good shot of my baldness. Hi.
We had a lot of preparing to do, so we really had to get moving.
I had to get on the bike maintenance right away.
Dad?
Other than the basic fluid changes and replacement of the front tire, I had some chain issues to deal with, so replacement of the sprockets and chain were the first to go. It was then that I discovered the fork seals were also gone. I guess I'll have to take care of that next. So the bike work was mainly out of the way. Now we've been using a monowheel trailer that we picked up last year on our BC trip. While they work great with just the frame and the dry bags, we felt it was time to get the proper box for it. So on a spontaneous decision, I called the owner of the company and made a plan to head over early the next morning.
Now the ferry off the island can often seem like a painful waste of time.
But on the bike we found that you can often pass time with an interesting conversation, perhaps with a fellow rider, or just enjoy the view.
And when all else fails, just find something stupid to do until you can get back on the road.
Arriving late didn't leave us much time left in the day, so thankfully, the owner of the company offered to let us stay in a little cabin on his property. Thanks, man.
Now the next day was filled with hanging around a machine shop. You see, their main business is fabricating all sorts of components for manufacturing companies, as well as a variety of custom work. The guys there also ride bikes, so recognizing a need for these things and adapting their skills to create super useful trailers for bikes must have been relatively easy for them. They even adapted a lid for a dog.
The attachments to the bike can become pretty custom for the trailers. They needed to adapt ours to properly fit the box. No problem, really. Aaron and I rarely have trouble finding a way to kill time. It wasn't long and they had it all together. I had another plan for the lid, so I asked them not to add the latches. with huge storage capacity for traveling now. I absolutely love it. Nice job, guys. Back at home, we had to hurry up and get the trailer ready for the trip. We had quite a list of some custom things we needed to add to it. First off, we really needed some sort of hinge on the lid. You see, Trailtail doesn't make one for it, so we had to start a search for the perfect hinge. That proved to be a really difficult task. So we moved on to step 2. Well, we're gonna put labels on the bike, right? We had some ideas on some custom stickers. We started to sketch them out. A local sign shop said they could have them together in just a couple days. I did manage to find a hinge I liked, and we talked about some options for mounting them.
Okay.
Careful, don't let that fall on the ground.
I know, I'm holding it. It makes it look better than this because it makes it look like it has less space. It's gonna be weird, and I'm not fond of it.
I think Aaron had the better idea on this one.
Pros and cons.
Now we thought the rim of the trailer looked a little out of place, so I put Aaron to work at the local sandblasting shop. See how it turned out? We then dropped it off for powder coating and decided on a color. Step 4. Build a block on the rear section of the box to create a tray. Then, wire up the trailer and mount power outlets for charging. No problem. Paint it up and glue it in. The final shopping list was needed. Easy for us, we usually eat like a couple bachelors on these trips anyway.
We took the bike, of course.
Our plan was to start the ride to Alaska on BC Day. It seemed like the perfect day to start a ride across the province. But at this point, we were starting to run out of time. It was July 30th, and we needed to be ready to roll out of the driveway in 7 days.
Chocolate bars.
Not usually a good idea. Those are gonna melt.
They are gummies, yeah, and pepperoni sticks. Oh.
Big day. Check this out.
It is.
I'm super excited. Check it out.
This was actually a lot of fun. It was awesome to see our ideas become real as we pulled off each backing to the sticker.
We were so proud. Even if the URL didn't lead to a website yet, for us it was a stepping stone towards making a dream we had together become reality. Whether we make it or not, I really think that trying to get there is the greatest part of any journey. We take this attitude with us on every ride, and we feel this could be the most important part of traveling on a motorcycle. The anticipation built on the days that followed, and we are now down to the last day. Naturally, we decided to take a ride, and headed to Sydney to take a walk and talk about any concerns we had over the trip. Are you excited about the trip, Aaron?
Very much, yes.
What's going to be your favorite part, do you think? What are you looking forward to?
Scenery, northern lights. I'm not... Be quiet!
Bastards, eh?
I'm trying to talk here. I am a bit nervous because of the bears that may be coming around. And I am nervous because like cougars and stuff like that.
One thing that was very apparent was that the hectares of forest burning in BC's interior could pose a serious threat to the trip if the situation became worse. The drifting smoke had even surrounded the lower island, blocking out the sun almost completely. Pretty serious up there. I hope it doesn't cause any problems.
Vancouver Island has to be one of the most awesome places to ride. We kind of feel spoiled sometimes.
The amount of stunning places you can find within an easy day's ride from Victoria is absolutely incredible. It is surely one of the best destinations in British Columbia, and especially for motorcyclists.
We have to give a lot of credit to where we live. I don't believe we would have ever been so driven to ride if not for the island.
If you find you may only ride your bike a little, this place will inspire you to ride a lot.
Today, however, was not a day for taking a local ride. Far from it. Today, we're headed towards Vancouver, to an area of Surrey called White Rock. Tomorrow morning, we'll leave for Alaska. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this.
Just have to suit up, toss in the last couple things, and get moving. Now, right here, this is a very significant moment. When you have been dreaming, planning, and preparing for a trip, the most significant moment of starting a long ride is when you cross the end of the driveway. All the last-minute preparations or worries of things you might have forgotten are gone. All of it gets left behind you, and all you have to do is relax and ride. So it was just another uneventful ferry ride. Or was it? What just happened, Aaron?
Our guy just went overboard.
What's that?
Guy just went overboard.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You had me going there for a minute, buddy. Turns out it was just a drill. At least he was keeping the ferry spirit alive. Not much else to do but screw around on these things anyway.
Once we hit the other side, the first thing we needed to do is go to an area called White Rock. That's where we planned to start our ride the next morning.
We needed to find the first of 5 gas stations we were going to be using on the trip tomorrow. It was important to be sure the pump receipt had the correct information on it, station address and correct time mainly, and that the printer worked properly. Turns out there's a problem with the printer. Only half the receipt came out.
Didn't get it.
I spoke to the attendant and it was an easy fix, however. The correct information was there, so it was all good.
We headed down to White Rock Beach to have some lunch. We need to keep receipts from all 5 gas stations we'll be filling up at tomorrow, as well as the most important one at the end of the ride.
Now I'm sure you're wondering, what the hell do you need to keep all the receipts for? To answer that, I'm gonna have to introduce you to Clive Brown, a motorcycle enthusiast and advocate for long-distance riding. You know those conversations you can have with a random rider while you're taking the ferry? Rarely do you meet someone that can have such a significant impact on your future.
It's Clive that introduced us to the IBA, or Iron Butt Association. Funny name, but it's a highly respected group of riders with over 60,000 members from all over the world. They are dedicated to safe, long-distance riding. And with proper records, you can certify a ride and have it documented with this rare group of endurance riders.
Clive holds many of them, and if we complete our ride, Aaron will be the youngest Canadian to ever finish the ride known as the Saddle Sore 1600.
That's 1,600 kilometers in less than 24 hours.
Clive has become a good friend and well aware of me and Aaron riding all the time together. He's been involved in producing and hosting a local television show called Farkle Garage. They decided to invite us on it one day.
How old are you, Aaron?
10.
You're 10. And you have a custom-made protective motorcycle suit that you're wearing.
Yes.
You're serious, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you're in. How many kilometers have you ridden so far in a day on a motorcycle, Aaron?
900.
900, yeah.
How many?
900?
If I can
900?
share my
Oh, we're going to
favorite
beat
thing
that one.
with my other
Almost
favorite thing,
double it.
then life can't be much better.
Now that suit Aaron is wearing is a vital part of any significant ride. I could never be comfortable with knowing he wasn't at least equally protected as I was. When it comes to properly fitted and protective touring gear for kids, there's nothing available in local shops.
After a bit of searching, we discovered a rare company that makes custom-sized riding gear for a variety of riders, including kids.
The company is called Rubberside Down and is located right here in BC.
Hey, Josh. Hey, guys. How you doing? Good. See you. I can see you. Hi, Aaron.
The owner is Josh Dernfeld. He's a rider and a father who looks forward to sharing the ride with his own son one day.
He's been busy building this company for over the last 10 years, and his gear is now available all over Western Canada and the territories.
Leather and textile, they make everything, in the style of all types of riders. While we were looking to get a new fitted suit for Aaron, I'm definitely going to replace my suit with one from Josh in the future. He has some pretty inventive suits that would work perfect for the type of riding that we do. Rubberside Down is actually doing a tremendous service to the motorcycle community. I consider this guy a bit of a hero. If you think about it, this rare company makes the suits that could save a kid from getting seriously hurt in an accident one day.
That's pretty awesome. It's almost like he's creating super suits for kids.
Well, maybe I wouldn't go that far.
After lunch, we headed out to get some rest.
Now I knew of a real steep hill we could take on the way out and try to convince Aaron we should take it. We were really heavy and I was a little nervous. Any pause in the climb and I might not be able to get rolling again. But it seemed like the funnest route. We had to take it. With the trailer, the bike was really heavy. If we weren't riding a 1000cc bike, I'm not sure if we would have made it.
It's steeper than the camera makes it look.
But it was no big deal, really.
Off to Grandpa's to get some sleep.
We were leaving for Alaska in less than 9 hours. I hope we can get any sleep at all. Time passed by quickly, and before we knew it, it was time to get back up.
After only a few hours of sleep, we were tired, but we were also a very determined couple of dudes. Nothing was going to slow us down. We've been looking forward to starting this ride for well over a year, and this is it. The biggest ride we have ever been on begins right now, in the middle of the night.
Back to the familiar gas station. I topped up the fuel and got the very important receipt. Everything was good, but I needed to write down the information on a log sheet and record the kilometers on the bike. It's also a good idea to snap a photo of the receipt next to the kilometer readout on the bike, just in case something happens to the paperwork. And that was it. Off we went.
At this point, we are about to turn onto the highway. Now, we settle in and get comfortable.
For the next 18 hours, this bike is it. It's our living room couch and our dining table. We're gonna spend the time talking, listening to music, or just quietly sitting there and observing where we are.
When you travel on a bike, you feel like you're really there at each moment. When you see a grove of trees, you smell them. When the wind gusts, you feel it. I always choose to travel on a bike over a car any day. The experience, good or bad, it's worth it. You always walk away with that memory. It's not just another boring car ride.
It was now 3:30 in the morning, and we needed to layer up. It was colder than we expected.
We were currently in Chilliwack, headed for the mountains, and it was not going to get any warmer for a while.
Daylight came. We were almost at Kamloops when Aaron asked me to pull over. How you doing, Aaron?
Not very good.
What's up?
I'm cold and my legs hurt.
Turns out the cold was getting to him. Is it your hips that are hurting you?
Yeah.
Are you okay to continue?
Yep.
Good news is, it's warming up fast, and we were almost at our next gas stop. We could always end it here if things were real bad. An old friend always keeps the door open for us here in Kamloops.
But we weren't done yet. Only just getting started. Vancouver Island's weather can vary pretty drastically. For example, the Victoria area only gets a fraction of rainfall that Tofino will see in a year.
This is real good for local riding, and while the weather can change every 10 minutes, most days it's pretty mild down here, all year round.
In Kamloops and interior areas of BC, the weather is a lot different. They have typically hot summers and relatively cold winters, and way less rain than Victoria. This can create a real dry environment and a breeding ground for forest fires. Continuing our journey north, we have left the dust of Kamloops in our dust, and we are making great time for our next gas stop in Valemont. This is a small town at the foot of the Rocky Mountains on the east side of BC. We need to quickly pass through it and loop northwest to Prince George.
At this point of the ride, we expected to be really feeling the heat of the morning sun. Turns out the smoke from the fires burning in BC's interior is everywhere.
This would normally be a blue sky morning, but the smoke is so severe, the sun is just a faint glow in the distance. On the upside, we're not roasting in our suits this morning.
But there was a huge downside. And later we found out the fire was a devastating problem for many of the folks in BC.
At one point, there was 1.2 million hectares burning. That's massive. It was the worst fire season since 1958. We are almost at our next gas stop and a much needed break. Right now it's time for fuel stop number 3.
Hey dude,
Hi.
so we're in Valemont. How you feeling?
Good. Awesome, actually.
You're getting tired though, aren't you?
Yeah.
At this gas station, we actually met several riders that were wearing no more than t-shirts and jeans. These were older guys, and it is important to respect the fact that this is their own decision to make. Decisions on personal safety and risk is often a matter of opinion and experience. Statistics say one thing, but a person must be able to judge that for themselves, and that's an important freedom to have. Many people may say this ride with Aaron is too dangerous, but that again depends on the riders. And for some people, just getting behind the wheel to go to the grocery store is more dangerous than this ride. At this point, we've become very settled into our ride and easily pass kilometer after kilometer.
Break time. I knew it was coming at some point. I found a spot to take a quick nap.
Next time on SpawnAdventures, we continue racking up kilometers across BC. Look back at our first big ride together. Why we had to say goodbye to our old bike. And the challenges we faced while attempting to conquer our riding goals.